Hello everybody, I am Jarrett Ross, a GeneaVlogger, and on today's vlog I will be updating you on what's been happening with the archives in Ukraine and Alex Krakovsky's case against them. In one of my previous videos, I introduced you to Alex Krakovsky, who's been digitizing all sorts of records in Ukraine and putting them up online for free. And recently he took the Zhytomyr Archives to court because they weren't adhering to the law. And since then, he has actually won the case. But even with this big win, there are still problems happening with the archives in Ukraine. The Ministry of Justice in Ukraine passed a proclamation which limited access to records in the Ukrainian archives, and it also limited the ability to digitize and copy records. Now, this proclamation is a big step back for the archives in Ukraine because this is making it so that the digitization efforts are being held back. In this proclamation, there are four main things that they're limiting. The first is the size of the books that you can digitize. So you cannot digitize any books that are larger than a 4-inch thickness, and you can't digitize anything that's larger than an A4 standard typing paper. They've also banned digitizing anything that's handwritten, any paintings, or anything that's written in pen. Another limitation with this proclamation is that you cannot digitize anything without the approval of the archive. So for everything that you want to digitize, you have to submit and the archive has to agree. As well, you can only copy something if you're in a specially designated place or if you're in a private room under supervision. And the last limitation is that you are limited on what you can take pictures with. So you can only take a photo with your cell phone or with a tablet. Anything else is not allowed. Now, I imagine a lot of you will be wondering exactly what I was wondering. Why these limitations? There doesn't seem to be any logical sense as to what these limitations are going to accomplish. There are a lot of problems with this proclamation, and all it's really accomplishing is slowing down the digitization efforts by Alex Krakovsky and others throughout Ukraine who are working along with Alex. Just because of the limitations in what you can digitize based on the sizing restrictions they have, 90 to 95% of the records are not available. This is also creating serious roadblocks. Every time a genealogist or one of these researchers wants to digitize anything, they have to go through all of these different steps to get the approval of the archive, and then the archive can deny it for any reason. Alex has sent me a lot of the records of him submitting requests to digitize documents in the Kyiv archives and them denying these requests. Another big piece of this is that this proclamation is actually illegal. It directly conflicts with the law that was passed by the legislator in Ukraine. Interestingly enough, in this proclamation, it was found that two major paragraphs were actually taken directly from a Russian law about archival access. But in the proclamation in Ukraine, the translation from Russian to Ukrainian caused a slight misstep so that in the Russian law, it just uses cell phones and tablets as an example of what you can use to digitize things, whereas the Ukrainian law says that cell phones and tablets are all that you can use to digitize documents. Even along with the fact that the proclamation directly conflicts with the law, the proclamation wasn't passed through the proper channels. Now, the announcement for the proclamation and the public hearing for the proclamation was very sketchy. It was announced only 15 days before the hearing. It was posted only on one website, which actually wasn't adhering to the correct laws where it was supposed to be posted. And it was posted around the holidays, during a time when a lot of people are dealing with family and dealing with all of the things that just go along with holidays. The proclamation was also supposed to have gone through the Regulatory Service of Ukraine, which is a service that goes through any single law that is going to be passed in the Ukraine that regulates anything. Well, the Ministry of Justice claims that this law doesn't regulate anything, even though it creates regulations on archival access. So that doesn't really make any sense. But even the regulatory service has come out and said that this proclamation should have gone through their service and they probably wouldn't have passed it anyway. And recently, the regulatory service sent a letter to the Ministry of Justice demanding that they drop the regulations. And because of all of this, Alex is taking them to court.
The archive should use the law, which has more value, but they decided to use that regulation that has less power. And so I'm not allowed to take pictures for you right now. They told me that I should take away my scanner, not my scanner, that the scanner you guys sent me. So apart from suing Ministry of Justice, for sure I'm going to sue this archive, because I think that this is fundamentally wrong. We live in the country, in European country, and the law should be respected. Not anything that has less power than the law and the Constitution. So it is what it is. Stay with us, and we're going to make this public, and we're going to make this really loud. God bless Ukraine.
Now, this slowdown on digitization efforts is also scary because a lot of these archives don't hold the records in the best of methods. So there's a lot of different chances for these records to be destroyed. And in the past, there have been fires in a lot of these archives which have destroyed tons of records. So these digitization efforts are a way of preserving this history, even though these documents are so fragile. Recently, there was a museum in Brazil which caught on fire and they lost 20 million artifacts. But through different efforts online, they're able to at least get pictures of a lot of these artifacts thanks to all of the people who've gone to the museums and took pictures while they were just looking through the museum. Interestingly enough, the Ministry of Justice in Ukraine has actually said one of the reasons behind their proclamation is because they want to help preserve the records. But it doesn't really make sense because the proclamation will make it so that more people have to go to the actual archive and pull out the book. So if more people are handling these books, that means the books will be degraded faster over time. So if the archives actually allow these digitization efforts, it's going to allow these books to last for much longer because more people won't have to go and actually open up the book themselves. On top of all of this, the way that some of these archives are acting is a little ridiculous. Alex has shown me videos where they come and take the books directly away from him because he's starting to photograph them. If Alex is able to win this upcoming court case, it's going to mean a lot to anyone who has any ancestry in Ukraine or anyone who's interested in researching the communities of Ukraine. Alex already has researchers that he's working with who are digitizing records in all sorts of archives across Ukraine. They already have multiple professional scanners to scan these documents with high quality images, thanks to a GoFundMe page that was set up by Brooke Shear-Gans of Reclaim the Records. And I know they're ready to get more documents up online. Thank you so much for checking out my video. If you enjoyed, please be sure to give it the thumbs up. You can also click right about here if you'd like to subscribe, which is free to do so. You can also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at GeneaVlogger. I'm the GeneaVlogger. I'm out.